What the? I think we actually started the video before the audio today. Just by a half second. That was crazy. It's a crazy day, though. We had some Hangout issues. If you're using Hangouts in Chrome, might want to switch to Safari. That's what I found.
Yep.
And Darren found that even when you try to get rid of that mic on a swing arm, sometimes you still need the mic on a swing arm.
Yeah.
That's the show for today. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Yeah, no.
Where's my El Nino?
Your El Nino? What?
Sorry, I was just reading an article that said, Godzilla El Nino rains haven't forgotten us. They're just running late.
It all goes north of L.A. Like, California's way wetter than L.A. That's normal, though. So, Darren, we are live.
Wonderful. And my phone is muted, so there we go.
What did I just say? Binging.
Let's make a podcast.
When a microphone and a host know each other very well.
Darren, you didn't have anything binging, did you?
Yes, that was me. I just muted my phone.
Okay, cool.
Although I don't like the insult that I use Bing.
Oh, sorry.
Let me Bing and decide how to respond to that.
You were
I use
pink.
Lycos, obviously.
Obviously. InfoSeek, man. InfoSeek forever.
Metacrawler. Dogpile.
I'll leave you two to it.
What was it? Northern Lights? What was that one?
I think those were cigarettes.
They probably were. Northern Exposure? No, that was a TV show. All right. Hey. So, I am going to now start a podcast.
Fantastic. Let's do it.
It's going to be called the Daily Tech News Show.
How often are we going to do it?
5 days a week. So it's really going to be a lie because it won't actually be daily. And it'll be about tech, though, and news.
But the days that it does come out are, in fact, days.
You know, this week, it will come out 6 days.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Do it.
Of course. Of course that wouldn't work because I didn't test it. So... Oh, man, I need a new cable. All right. Here we go. Ready?
G'day. This is the Daily Tech News Show. I'm American, and this is my best attempt at an Australian accent. If you'd like to hear a real Australian accent, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support and pledge an amount so Peter Wells can do a 6th day of DTNS. Shrimp on the barbie.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, February 12th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt, almost 100% recovered from the flu, and bearing no flu virus that I can tell, Mr. Darren Kitchen, founder of hack5.org, is joining us today.
So good to be here, Tom. I'm glad to hear that you're feeling a little bit better. You take some Norton, some McAfee, you get some Kaspersky up in there. What'd you do? Clam maybe?
Wow, I understand your text message from earlier.
Oh yeah.
I'm a little fever slow still from that. So you recommend that for a virus? I see. That makes sense.
Yeah. Or you know, just some rest and some OJ.
It wasn't a malicious virus.
OJ, good for virus.
Very friendly.
Right over the laptop.
Yeah. The virus had physical access. That's how I got infected.
Oh, that's
well, folks. We're going to talk a little bit about viruses and how to protect yourself against them, and how to stay encrypted and whether I don't know, the government mandating a backdoor would be a good or a bad idea. You know we think it's a bad idea. I'm not going to try to tease you that way. But there's that study from Bruce Schneier we mentioned yesterday that Darren and I are going to look at in a little more detail later on. Let's start off. First of all, if you're like, wait, don't forget Len. Len's not here today. Very sad that I had to miss ConveyUX up in Seattle. I feel horrible about that because of having a fever and being contagious and not wanting to infect a plane load of people, and also feeling crappy. But Len was there. He was there for all 3 days of ConveyUX, and so he's on his way back from there right now, and hence not able to be on the show. But we'll have Len next week. Let's start off with some headlines. Runkeeper CEO and co-founder Jason Jacobs announced the fitness startup has been acquired by Japanese athletic equipment company ASICS. Jason said the companies had complementary goals, would develop physical products with digital fitness tracking, and the Runkeeper app and its development will continue. And from the end user standpoint, says Jacobs, not much will change. No details on the rudimentary aspects of the deal were revealed, but Nike makes Nike Plus, which is one of Runkeeper's biggest competitors, so I guess that's the thing now. Every shoe company has its fitness app. Maybe someday we'll think it's weird that fitness apps once used to make shoes, Darren.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, to be honest, the first time I heard this, I thought what you meant was ASICS, ASIX. I was like, oh man, I was hoping they would get bought by Realtek, but JK, I guess everybody has to have the device that you must buy for New Year's for your pledge and your goal, and then discard by, what are we putting it at, March?
Dude, I use Runkeeper and Nike Plus all year round.
Oh, wow.
Just saying.
Okay.
I'm a data point of one, but no, it's for running enthusiasts, right? It's for people who are really into this and like to track it, and they're both great apps. I think we are seeing athletic shoe companies a little smarter in some ways than media companies, avoiding the eventual downfall of the physical product. I mean, someday I'm going to be able to 3D print a shoe. But being able to say, I also vend fitness services is a good diversification.
No, it absolutely makes sense. I was actually really surprised when recently at a pen test with Hack5, we had some folks from Nike come, and they were explaining to us that Nike's a technology company, not a shoe company. And I was like, what? But that makes perfect sense if what you want to do is stay with longevity. So granted, if the Catholic Church were the wave of the future and not technology, sorry Catholic Church, then they would say we're a Catholic Church company, not a, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No,
I think you're right. It's a little bit of a buzzword for every business to say we're actually a tech company, even though we make steel girders. But maybe the Catholic Church will start calling itself a tech company.
Or irrelevant. I'm sorry. That really sounded wrong, but I'm just saying they're jumping on the relevance bandwagon.
I don't know. Pope Francis is down there in Cuba doing some stuff, making some history for, first meeting in 1100 years with a patriarch. Ain't bad. AT&T announced Friday it will begin testing 5G services this year in developing its ability to one day carry the 5G standard services once there's an actual standard that's been voted on. Verizon announced a similar thing earlier this year. They also say they're going to use some components of what will probably eventually become 5G technology as a broadband replacement service in rural areas by the end of the year. So not just testing 5G, but also using some of that technology to provide some connectivity. AT&T's Chief Strategy Officer John Donovan told Recode the company will do lab tests with Intel and Ericsson in the first half of the year, followed by some field tests in Austin.
If I'm a cable company, this is some terrifying news. I mean, we've already seen enough reasons to cut the cord television-wise, but I already personally have friends who have cut the internet cord and gone just pure LTE from home. And I'm just going to say, I predict that this is a trend that is going to continue as we see the continued convergence of the smartphone as your, main computing device, and with the ability to Chromecast it and all of that stuff to your TVs, that there's like less and less reason to have some landline.
I've been the preacher of the importance of a hardwired connection over the lagginess and unpredictability of a wireless connection for years, but as they get faster and more reliable, wireless connections are starting to begin to look like a viable replacement for landlines. And it may be that landlines for connectivity become something that is not necessary. Maybe it's 6G before that actually becomes the truth. But
yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, you and me and the rest of the geek audience know that hardwire Ethernet or a fiber line to your house is always going to be better than what's going through the airwaves. But that's not like the public idea that even Wi-Fi means the internet.
Yeah.
So the most concerning thing actually here is the net neutrality implications if we do as a society move to more mobile broadband-based solutions for internet, because as I recall, there are some caveats there that aren't so friendly.
Yeah, though there are different open internet guidelines for wireless, that's true. The Guardian reports Facebook India's managing director Karthika Reddy will step down from the post as managing director of Facebook in India after 6 years and is moving back to the U.S. Now, that would probably not be that big of a deal if it weren't the same week that Free Basics by Facebook in India was declared to violate open internet rules there, net neutrality rules there, and a day after a huge blow up, or 2 days after a huge blow up, started by Mark Andreessen saying some not nice things about colonialism and India. Now, she called the move a natural transition, said it has to do with her school-age children. Facebook says the move was planned for some time and that she will continue to work at Facebook headquarters in Menlo Park, California. So she didn't have anything to do with Free Basics. It doesn't sound like this has absolutely anything to do with what Andreessen said, but it's causing so many headlines and so many people to take notice that it's worth investigating and taking a look at. Netflix engineers posted Thursday that the company closed its last data center in January 2016 and has completed its cloud migration to AWS. That's right, Amazon Web Services now carries all your Netflix. Well, kind of. Netflix began the migration of everything but video to the cloud in 2008. Video is still delivered through Netflix Open Connect, which Netflix calls its content delivery network. I've been told by people who know that it's not exactly a CDN, but the video is still delivered through that system. Everything else, the databases, transcoding, things like that, are happening on AWS now.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. Netflix is really the poster child of cloud computing in this regard. As far as like a big, customer for AWS, and I would argue that there's really not much computing when I think of it in the traditional sense. I think more of transcoding as like, I don't know, just Oxen kind of, brute force data,
freaking trail type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, I mean, this is really cool. Although I will say it's a little scary of a trend if you're in IT. I feel like long gone are the days of rolling your own infrastructure solutions, especially for SMBs. I worked for a medium-sized business, then I managed Exchange and IIS and SharePoint and Apache, Peachtree, which I shudder to think now. But that was between 2001 and 2011. If I were to get that same job again today, all of that sysadmin stuff would be in the cloud. So
yeah. Well, and I guess if I were to try to find a silver lining for you there, it would be that AWS is not the only game in town. It may be the most popular, but there is Azure, there is Google, there is IBM. So even if you're putting your data in someone else's hands, you've got other hands to run to should you need to.
Yeah, no, there's that, and I'm sure their uptime would have been better than mine anyway. I mentioned it was IIS, right?
Yes, you did. StreetMap has lost its case against Google for anti-competitive conduct in British court, according to the UK Guardian. Online map service StreetMap had accused Google of unfairly promoting Google Maps over rivals in violation of Britain's Competition Act of 1998. The result, they said, was a dramatic loss of traffic. Google put its own map in something that is called the One Box. You've seen it when you do a search and the little map shows up at the top of your search results. Justice Roth ruled that Google's 2007 introduction of Maps One Box was, quote, not reasonably likely appreciably to affect competition in the market for online maps. And Google's behavior was, quote, objectively justified. StreetMap director Kate Sutton said they would appeal the judgment.
I don't get this whatsoever. I'm not an expert in UK law, but it kind of sounds like, like Bing being like, why is it that when you Google, you don't get Bing results, right? Like, I mean, of course.
Well, but it bears directly on the whole European antitrust suit that Google has been fighting, which Microsoft is kind of backing off of now, but has been accusing Google of just that, saying, like, you have a 90% share of the marketplace, and so when you favor your own products, it's an unfair competition.
Yeah, sure, but it's not like the consumer didn't have a choice all along to use Bing or DuckDuckGo or AltaVista, and if they wanted to, they could have gone to streetmap.co.uk altogether, which is, by the way, a really terrible map service. I know because I had to Google it to even find this. And by the way, when I Googled them, I found OpenStreetMap as the first result, which, by the way, is an awesome alternative open source project because they've got killer APIs, and now I'm totally off the rails, but I digress. What I mean is, this is a pretty pathetic service, and I think the argument's just as.
Well, whether you're someone in Europe who believes that a 90% market share is an effective loss of choice and therefore StreetMap has a point, or whether you're like Darren and you think that, look, it's Google's product, they should be able to do what you want, it's frictionless for you to change to something else, I think we can all agree that OpenStreetMap is something you should check out because it's really good. The Hollywood Reporter says it has learned that Apple's first scripted television series will star Dr. Dre, who's also going to executive produce. 6 half-hour episode series will be called Vital Signs and likely be distributed through Apple's music service, Apple Music. That's why I called it Apple Music, because it's Apple's music service. Also cast are Sam Rockwell and Mo McRae. The director, video director Paul Hunter, he's a music video director, is running the show. And Empire's Robert Munich wrote the episodes, all 6 of them.
Oh my gosh, this is so great, and not even because of what it is, but just because of my love for the internet and the mediums and the possibilities. I mean, here we are podcasting, which is a medium where anyone can create content, and as we saw this from like you and I from the get-go of podcasting, when companies started to get into it, it's like, oh, they're doing the thing, but like this is such a good thing, and not even just because it takes power from the establishment, and whether or not the establishment is corrupt and evil by nature is an argument for a different series, but I just love how this fosters innovation in this medium, and then it brings more creativity to life that may never have seen life. And I'm also just very happy to hear him as Dr. Dre again, because Beats by Dre makes it seem like he lost his PhD.
Yeah, no, he is the Dr. Dre, and now the star of a TV show, and a very clever way for Apple to experiment with original television. We heard a rumor recently that Apple might start making their own shows a la Netflix and sell them through iTunes, which I think could be a smart move for them. But the better way to do it is take someone who is an employee, who's a big name, do a 6-part series, put it through Apple Music, where you've put through video series before. They were very much documentary music series, but it's something likely to be worth your time, help promote Apple Music, and give you a little experience of what does it mean to produce an original series, so you can decide if you want to actually go forward with that in other arenas.
Yeah, and it blurs the line. Like, what's the difference between an original series from the likes of Apple or Netflix or a really good show on YouTube, you know, or original YouTube Red content, as it were. So more original content. This is fantastic. What the world needs more of, creativity.
VentureBeat reports Facebook has confirmed it's testing SMS support in Messenger, as well as launching multiple account support for Android users. This is Android only. Android police spotted the new features Thursday. SMS is being tested with a small number of U.S. Android users, but multiple accounts have launched for Android users worldwide.
This is the kind of story that makes me feel like an old man. I still prefer SMS. I still text message you, Tom, because it's an effective medium. And I also just don't get Facebook or Messenger. Do you use Facebook Messenger?
I do very rarely, because my nephew uses it, and when he is not in the U.S., which happens a lot because he's engaged to an Australian, he will. That will be one of the only ways we can talk. It's either Viber or Facebook Messenger. But I don't use it outside of that. And every once in a while somebody will message me there, and I'll find it 6 days later and go, oh, okay, then what's up with that? So apologies for that. But I know tons of people who do use it.
Yeah, I wonder, is this like an avenue to get people that are using SMS to use a Facebook Messenger, or just a like, hey, now you don't have to leave the app kind of thing?
Well, one of the things I've noticed when I switch to an Android phone from an iOS or vice versa is all my text messages don't know where to go, because you can integrate your Android text message with Hangouts, and you can integrate your iOS text messages with iMessage. And so it would be cool if somebody came along and said, look, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You want to get your text messages through Messenger, you can do it everywhere. Now, this is Android only right now, so this isn't giving you that. But Facebook Messenger could do this for all platforms, and that could be an elegant way to free us from caring about what OS we're running.
No, I love this. I was actually just down to Santa Monica for the premiere of Pure Ownage, which is an amazing television series. And when I saw that they're Canadians, first thing that Jeff Lapierre, the director, said was, what's your WhatsApp? And I'm like, what? Oh, man. And so actually this conversation is bringing back a whole concept that I thought we had left, but we're revisiting. Everything happens before and everything will happen again. So say we all if only the day will come where AOL Instant Messenger people can talk to those on Yahoo Messenger, that can talk to those on MSN, which they
I'm
only
telling
use
you, the Jabber protocol. You got to check it out. It's going to change everything.
I'm using Pigeon. Actually, it wasn't even called Pigeon then yet.
Yeah. Oh, there was
Trillion.
Yeah.
Trello. Slack.
Let's get on to something even cooler here. Researchers from the computer science departments at Cal Poly and North Carolina State Universities have analyzed nearly 1.4 million users of GitHub on a single day. Granted, April Fool's Day, April 1st, 2015. And the team found that 78.6% of pull requests made by women were accepted. That is, the code that they put in there was accepted, compared to 74.6% for men. So more pull requests approved for women than for men.
Yeah, take that gender bias.
The team also looked at acceptance of code from contributors not well known in the GitHub community. So they said, let's get rid of the people everybody like, oh, I'm going to accept their code. I know who they are. Let's go for the outsiders. Among those outsiders, women's acceptance rates were 71.8% when they used gender-neutral profiles. So some username you couldn't tell what they were, but dropped to 62.5% when their profile identified them as female.
What? I thought this whole story was about how, the gender bias has gone away and everything is better now.
Well, what it does say is when you don't know what the gender is, turns out women got their code accepted a little more often than men, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, their code is so clever. WTF society. I'm just reminded of, do you watch Silicon Valley? I'm reminded of a quote from Pauline's character. I'm not a woman engineer. I'm an engineer.
Yeah. But what this really does show is when the code, when it is seen to have been authored by a particular gender, the acceptance rate definitely has changed. So it's an interesting study. I leave it to the audience to draw your own conclusions. Do you have a watch?
Yes, although it's always paused.
Your watch sucks, not just because it's paused, because it doesn't use ytterbium ions. Yeah, physicists in Germany used ytterbium ions to make an optical single-ion clock that traps ions in a lattice of laser beams that allows oscillations to be counted accurately over a pit of sharks. Okay, the pit of sharks may not have been involved. The clock would not lose or gain a second over several billion years, a measurement of uncertainty of 3E18. That's 100 times more accurate than the old-fashioned cesium clocks that your grandpa uses. Time to redefine the standard international unit of time, don't you think?
Yes, it's high time, in fact.
It's seconds past time. No, this is so we have like the most accurate clock ever made now, and they really are considering redefining the standard international unit of time, which is a second, in terms of these kind of ion clocks versus the cesium clocks. It's currently defined as a cesium clock, but the cesium clocks are way less accurate than most of these single ion clocks.
Well, the beautiful thing here is all we have to do is update NTP, and all of our computers will get time automatically.
Exactly. Then we'll all be just as accurate.
Unless, of course, you're Google, in which case you don't leap second, you leap second.
The UK Investigatory Powers Tribunal declared that GCHQ is not in violation of the law for its persistent surveillance actions. Privacy International had alleged that GCHQ violated warrant protections based on Snowden revelations that the agency engaged in computer network exploitation, in other words, attacking cell phones and laptops. During the case, GCHQ admitted to using persistent monitoring software, but the court ruled that due to the current terrorist threat, thematic warrants, quote-unquote, against broad classes of people with an open time frame were sufficient.
Are you trying to insinuate, Tom, that somehow the government is claiming that a government agency didn't break government laws?
I didn't say nothing.
This is shocking.
You can't prove it.
That one coming.
You did not computer network exploit my phone while I said it.
Yeah.
No, this is basically, you could take that attitude of like, well, it's government, telling government it's okay, but courts have actually worked as a check on government power, even in the UK, and this is a disappointment for people that you couldn't get the court to back off, and it's because the court says no. The court's basically saying no, we are in a different time. Well, they said those 18th century ideas and fears about general warrants. They actually wrote this. Those 18th century ideas about general warrants are outdated.
You see, they could have at least, like given some sort of concession about privacy, some sort of like statement that means nothing, of course, legally, but like just acknowledging it. But instead, it's like, no, we live in an age of terrorism.
Yeah.
Fear, fear, fear.
That's pretty much what they did. And finally, the UK's newspaper, The Independent. I don't mean to imply it's the only newspaper. I mean, it's a newspaper from the UK, The Independent, confirmed today that it will no longer be a newspaper, actually. It'll stop printing editions and become digital only. Last print editions will hit newsstands March 26th. I believe the last Sunday edition will be March 20th.
Newspapers are gone. Vinyl is back in trend. I don't know what's going on anymore, Tom.
When do you think newspapers become hip again?
I'm going to give it 10 years, and then newspapers will be the new hipster hotness, is like delivered to your door in a little baggy thing. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, that's probably already happening in Williamsburg. But this is, in fact, the first of the big UK newspapers to go digital only. So it's definitely
Tom, we call them zines in Williamsburg.
That's right. I'm sorry. Your zine will be delivered in a nice little yellow plastic bag. Hey, thanks to everybody who submits stories on our subreddit. Keep it coming. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. It definitely helps us put the stories together every single day, and we appreciate it greatly. That's a look at the headlines. So, here's the setup. There's the UK Investigatory Powers Bill. That's the bill that, depending on who you ask, in some way or method, would require companies to provide unencrypted communications to law enforcement. Now, some say that doesn't mean having a key. Some say it does. It's vague enough to not matter really what it says. It's vague enough that it's going to cause unrest. Then you have state bills here in the United States, California and New York, that want to prohibit the sale of devices that cannot be decrypted by a manufacturer. You've got a federal bill being proposed to ban those kinds of bills, saying, no, you shouldn't be allowed to require manufacturers to put a backdoor. Back in July of last year, there was a paper published called Keys Under Doormats that compared these kinds of calls for backdoors to the fight over the Clipper chip, which started back in 1993. The NSA wanted to have access to keys in escrow for all chips made for computers. If you remember that fight, that was a pretty nasty fight that the NSA lost. The FBI back then was saying all the same things it's saying now. It said, we'll go dark. By the year 2000, we won't be able to keep an eye on any kind of criminal activity, which of course ended up not being true. They have plenty of ways to keep an eye on criminal activity. They determined in Keys Under Doormats, again, that was published back in July, that backdoors would prevent things like forward secrecy, so it would weaken secrecy altogether. It would increase system complexity, and it would provide a single target for bad actors, and said this is a bad idea. And it was signed by luminaries, people like Diffie of Diffie-Hellman, Rivest of RSA, and Bruce Schneier, who we're going to talk about here in a second. Bruce Schneier is one of the authors on a worldwide survey of encryption products, along with Kathleen Seidel and Saranya Vijayakumar, that was done for the Berkman Center. Now, here's what they did. And we talked about this a bit yesterday in the headlines. They did a survey of, okay, what encryption products are out there, where are they located, and what would happen if a backdoor was put into one region? So the United States, for instance. 865 hardware and software crypto products available in 55 countries. Now, they don't claim that's the exhaustive list. They say that's the minimum bound. They were able to do a pretty thorough search, and they found this many. There's definitely more. They said about two-thirds of those, 546, 63%, were made outside the United States. 112 in Germany, 20 in the Netherlands. Those are both countries that have disavowed backdoors. They said our country would never put a backdoor, and never say never, but those are countries that are going against it versus the US and the UK, which are trying to fight for it. And they said that looking at the encryption products in general, non-US encryption was generally as strong as US encryption. There wasn't like a loss in quality when you went outside the US. So here's the conclusion. Any mandatory backdoor will be ineffective simply because the marketplace is so international. Yes, it will catch criminals who are too stupid to realize that their security products have been backdoored or too lazy to switch to an alternative, but those criminals are likely to make all sorts of mistakes in their security and be catchable anyway. The smart criminals that any mandatory backdoors are supposed to catch, terrorists, organized crime, and so on, will easily be able to evade those backdoors. Darren, just go buy something that was made somewhere else, and now you're only punishing the honest.
Well, see, this is the security researchers using something that the governments understand back to them, which is the concept of economics, right? It's like if you can't buy it here, you just buy it there. But ultimately, what we're talking about is the fact that the cat is out of the bag, and you can't undo this. It's math we're talking about. I remember Buzz Out Loud, you guys had Death Watch on Palm, was it? And many others. I mean, I feel like we need a war on math sounder, as this will continue to be the debate, because so say we all, while this has happened before with the crypto wars, the difference there was that those like fighting to keep cryptography were also using the carrot approach, which was, hey, this is going to, again, speaking to what governments understand, it's going to foster commerce, and it's the reason why we have things like HTTPS and why we can buy things on stores like Amazon. And so now it's like all over again, but the difference here is it's not just tinfoil hat people and crypto pioneers that want to keep this. It's usable by everybody here and now. And the thing is that this isn't like traditional stuff that you can control. This isn't gun control. You can't just do in Australia and get all the guns back and destroy them. It's concept control. And I'm sorry, but the cat's already out of the bag.
Yeah, I think that's something that is lost in a lot of internet conversations. It's not only this one, but we're not talking about a thing. We're not talking about encryption as like a little device that you clip on, and it's like, we'll just ban that device, or we'll only make the devices with a key. It's math. And so as soon as you go and you say, look, United States, you've gotten all 865 hardware and software products to agree to put your backdoor in. I mean, that is not going to happen. Let's say it did. You'd have brand new products created the next day using math to encrypt things. Now, granted, real good, strong encryption is hard. That's why people like Rivest and Diffie are rightly lauded as having made great advancements. But once those encryption schemes are out there and the math is known, it's not hard to implement them. It's not impossible to find coders who can make good encryption schemes. It's not nuclear science. It's not astrophysics. And there are plenty of places that people can go. Now, granted, you can say, well, but we're going to catch a lot of people if we have Apple put a backdoor in for us. A trustworthy backdoor that's monitored by a third party and can only be used with a warrant, which, by the way, the United States isn't necessarily saying it's going to be used with a warrant. And the fact of the matter is, you will then degrade Apple sales. Lots of people will not want to buy Apple, both in the United States and out, because they'll say, that's got a single point of failure right there. I don't want that.
Yeah, and I really want to say that those in law enforcement have good intentions of catching bad guys, and I don't want to thwart that. But it should be, and it's not like this is not an argument. This is just fact. You cannot win this game of whack-a-mole, and ultimately this only hurts citizens. And like, for example, the Investigatory Powers Bill, which proposes banning perfect encryption where companies like Apple or Google can't even themselves know what you're storing on their services and using their devices for and things of that nature. Those are just companies, right? Take that same thing and then pivot it to now talking about a decentralized open source project. Where do you go? You can't win this. This is not something that you can just, oh, well, we got 90% of the market share. Well, guess what? That market share now leaves those companies, which are probably providing jobs for your citizens, and then we all leave Facebook and go on CryptoBook or whatever it is that's a decentralized. I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit wishful thinking here, but if to use Jim Cooper's statement, he's a California Assembly member in regards to this kind of stuff. He's one of the law enforcement people who wants to do good, but his quote is, human trafficking trumps privacy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And to which I say, privacy trumps all of that. I'm so sorry. It just does.
Yeah, I mean, the argument that my good cause trumps your privacy is always fraught with problems, and that goes beyond technology. And that's about the balance between, privacy and security.
Yeah.
Human trafficking is awful. Let's stop it. Does that mean that we should allow everyone to allow a cop to investigate their home at any time just in case there's human trafficking going in? No. does not mean that. It also doesn't mean that we should weaken the encryption on everyone, making everybody's devices less secure in an already insecure enough environment, because it has a less than 0.01% chance of assisting in a case somewhere.
Okay, so similar to IT, where the problem is never the technology, it's always the L users. Human trafficking, the problem is the humans, not the technology. So yes, I'm not saying that's not a good cause, but you're not going to solve it going after the technology. And if you remove the technology from the equation, Tom, what we're talking about here is, what if I tell you a secret in person? We don't use any technology. Did we not? Oh no, we didn't use a third party that the government can hold that secret just in case they ever, with a secret government court order, need to look at, because we did it technology agnostic. What?
Yeah, no, this is almost like saying anytime you talk to someone from now on, you have to talk through this little tube, okay? Yeah. And we won't listen to the tube, but the tube is listenable. And if we need to listen to the tube, we can, just for the bad guys. But all conversations need to happen through the tube now.
Well, or if we remove the tube from the situation, this could create jobs, because think of all the stenographers that could just follow everyone around, creating a record of this.
It's a jobs program, for sure. Anyway, that we've heard from several law enforcement professionals who say, yeah, you don't want to. There's a line. You should be able to you should have to have a warrant. There's a comment on the Stingray thing today on our subreddit, which is saying, look, you guys, you got to have a warrant to go after people. You can't just randomly surveil everything hoping to get a lead. That is not to minimize how difficult the jobs of law enforcement are, and we don't want to make the jobs of law enforcement more difficult than they need to be. It is a balance.
No, I have friends who do this, who catch bad people doing bad things and come up against this all the time, and I get that. I sympathize with that, but I find that a right to privacy is paramount to the freedom of expression, which is a fundamental human right.
Well, and you may or may not agree with us, so let us know. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Our pick of the day comes from Gary the Senior Geek, who wrote in with his pick being credit unions. He says, a long time ago in the early 70s, after being majorly screwed by a bank, he actually said, which bank? And I was like, well, let's not name the bank right now. He joined a federal credit union. He said, on our last refi, we went through the Connecta Credit Union, and to our astonishment, they did not sell the loan to anyone. It's still on our statement, and we can easily make payments directly from our household checking account. If you can find a credit union you qualify for, I strongly recommend you open an account there and extend whatever finger you like towards your previous financial institution. Gary's he's the one that's been writing in about the Bluetooth headphones as well, and I 100% agree with them. Credit unions, by and large, are going to treat you much better than banks are going to, because you are in their interest. You own their bank. You are part of that bank because you put money there, whereas large financial institutions are owned by stockholders, and they serve the stockholders' interest, which is fine. Could be good for big companies there. Darren, I don't know if you care about credit unions.
I do, but I don't qualify, and that's the thing. So it's kind of like I hear...
What do you mean you don't qualify?
Well, I mean, Shannon's always telling me about how great they are, but she's in one because of her dad was military or something like that. Maybe I do, and I just...
This is a common myth. I'm glad you mentioned that. Most credit unions in your region can now take you as a member because you are in that region.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because my first thought was like, how awesome would it be a decentralized open source? Oh, I'm describing Bitcoin. Never mind.
I'm a member of a credit union started for teachers, but because I live in the school district, I qualify for the credit union.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, TXJeb. I'll look into this, because there are quite a few banks for whom I would like to bite my thumb at.
Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Some emails before we get out of here. Saskatoon Operations Engineer Scott, a.k.a. TD Enterprises, said the feedback about sensors in automated systems and the subsequent conversation was excellent. There are so many automated systems around that have the potential to cause serious harm to you. It's in the programming of those systems to prevent something bad from ever happening. Perfect example being our water supply. I live in a city of 250,000 people. Our city's water treatment plant is staffed 24/7, but millions of people live with clean water from facilities that are not staffed all the time. Some only have mechanical safeguards, but many newer ones have control systems, and things like sensor failures will shut down those systems as a precaution instead of just simply continuing to run. This programming is what makes things like Stuxnet so scary. In the world of controls, a virus that could infiltrate a SCADA system and hijack the system so that all of your remote monitoring is reporting correctly while the wrong thing is happening, that's frightening. If these cars are communicating, their security will be more crucial to their safe operation than what might happen when a sensor fails.
Right, and what that demonstrates is the fundamental element of any hack, which is a lie. You know, in this case, the system lying to the human about what it's actually doing.
And Jay wrote in to point out that the problem with the self-driving train that crashed because of a sensor failure is that it was more like a human than a self-driving vehicle. Its knowledge and experiences were entirely self-contained and unique to it. It wasn't able to formulate a plan for handling a failing sensor because it had no well of knowledge from which to draw, whereas self-driving cars are based on machine learning and adaptable to their surroundings. That's a good point, Jay.
Yeah, you got to get that Borg hive mind thing going.
Yeah. And then finally, David Toms wanted to let us know about a project he's working on next week. He's filming an attempt to be the first multi-rotor drone to cross the English Channel. The drone, named Enduro, has been developed by a company in the UK called Oxen. They'll set off by boat to France and attempt to make the return journey while tailing the drone at 30 knots. The drone will be set to follow waypoints, but will remain in the operator's control for the duration of the 30-ish mile journey. Purpose of the attempt is a proof of concept, as many in the industry look to utilize drones for day-to-day use. I'm looking forward to covering it with my team of camera operators, and we'll happily send you the link when it's completed to a recap of what happened. We also aim to complete a documentary about it later this year. So there you go. That's pretty cool. He wanted to send this along as he knows the drones get covered on the show. You can keep up to date on the Twitter side with him at David Toms, and for details of the attempt itself at Oxen.
This is an awesome feat of engineering and a great demonstration of how far we have come with quote-unquote drones and endurance, and it just makes me so happy that a nation with sensible drone regulations might be able to achieve this. I'm not, of course, talking about the United States because we don't have those, but, you know, go Europe.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. UK might allow this. Will France? I don't know.
Oh, that's a really interesting concept. Let me fly my quadcopter over into Canada and see how that goes.
See how it goes. Yeah, you let me know how that happens when you get it out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Darren Kitchen. We miss Len Peralta.
Yes.
We are sad that we are not going to have any Len Peralta art this week because he was in Convey UX. We were supposed to have art from him because of Wednesday's show, but that's all on the flu virus. I blame it. Darren Kitchen, you are here, and we appreciate it. HAK5.org.
Thank you, Len. Len couldn't be here, but I thought I would maybe do a drawing. I know that Jenny might have, but it's a drawing.
Did you actually draw that?
Yeah, I drew that. It's a stick figure behind bars, and the caption says, "The irony is that I'm here for jailbreaking my iPhone." We were talking about
he's in jail.
Yeah, he went to New Jersey to buy the iPhone that does encryption, and then he rooted it. Yeah.
Not good. Not good. Yeah, people going over the border to Jersey to buy encrypted iPhones.
Yeah, like
could be a thing.
Like cheap booze.
That's fantastic. If you want more good hackery, more threatwire, more tech things, I'm trying to think of other puns.
We did
Metasploit in minutes.
We did Metasploit. Oh, there's another Metasploit Minute series coming up. Mobix will be here in March, and we're doing another series of that. Very exciting, as well as Let's Code, which is Sebastian of the Wi-Fi Pineapple and myself delving into coding for it, which is all sorts of good stuff with Angular and PHP and just good stuff. It's really fun. So yeah, just hak5.org. Check it out.
Thanks to all of our patrons at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. You are going to get an episode of Daily Tech News Show on Sunday. Unless you're in Australia, you'll get it on Monday. But wherever you are, that's a day you usually don't get an episode from us. Peter Wells will be doing that episode thanks to you. We're going to get 2 of his episodes this month, not all 4 until we get all the way to the milestone goal. But he wanted to kind of give you an idea of, like, here's what I want to do every week for you. So check that out. It's going to be in the feed. And big thanks to everybody who helped us out with that. Patreon.com/DTNS. I mean, also this week we've got a guest post from Brian Henry, assistant professor of finance at Benedictine College on self-driving cars. We've got the amazing, awesome, entertaining, and hilarious weekly tech views from Mike Range. That's coming up on the blog tomorrow. So keep your eye on dailytechnewsshow.com over the weekend. The hits will keep on coming. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back on Sunday with Peter Wells, Monday headlines only, and back with regular shows on Tuesday.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom. Good show.
Yes.
I like
should
your
we call it?
drawing.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, I was like, oh, Jenny's gonna do one.
Not
That
today,
was awesome.
man. Today was
I
not
love
a
that you had a
drawing
drawing.
Thank you.
day.
Text Jeb, this is for you.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
What should we call this show?
The Oxen of the Cloud.
Ooh.
It's so poetic.
It is.
I think
That's
we
why I
have
like
to.
it.
Yeah, I love it. That's it.
Huh. I haven't even seen the other ones, but yeah, I do. Although for some reason I hear it and I'm just like reminded of Oregon Trail.
Yeah,
then-
that's why I like it.
Oh yeah, totally. Me too.
Yeah. And then like dysentery comes to mind. That is a game that popularized dysentery. You know that, right?
Yeah. Dysentery was never as popular as it was before Oregon Trail.
Before that, people just suffered with.
I was a big dysentery fan before Oregon Trail. Just
Oh, you hipster.
He had all the cool illnesses.
Yeah.
He had the consumption.
Now I wish crypto book becomes a thing.
Crypto book?
Well, here's the thing, right? There are distributed, decentralized social networks that are based on strong cryptography, but they're so tinfoil hat esoteric that no one uses them. It's just a matter of time before someone decides to develop an app that they can find a way to put advertising in and make this a thing.
Yeah.
Because money, because market.
Disruption.
Yes.
I don't even know what that's from.
It's fun to be living in this time where you can see, like, governments having little tattle tantrums like they're children who just don't understand the way the world works.
Oh yeah, that's been going on for years. The question is, though, because sometimes what happens is the powers, whether they're governments or corporations, change the game.
Let's just make it illegal to use math.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the math one. I think that just, that's a bit of a losing battle. But there are other things.
Well, yes, we'll just make all encryption illegal, and then when we do catch those human traffickers and their phones are, damn it, their phones will be encrypted, won't they? Yeah, I guess they will.
Oh, crap, really? But it's illegal.
So hang
Why
on.
are the criminals following the law?
Going but to a lighter subject, Dr. Dre, he's back to being Dr. Dre, because I keep hearing Beats by Dre.
Beats by
and
Dre
everything's
was
Dre,
always
like,
just the name of the product. That was never his name.
Because Seb and I were having this discussion as we were listening to all of the classics in LA, and it just seemed like I thought that maybe he lost his degree in doctorology.
His degree in rapology. Yeah. No, he's always been. Well, I think he started going by just Dre, but you're asking the wrong person on the intricacies of the history. But he's still Dr. Dre.
No, that's good. That's good because whatever ailment you got a doctor there for you.
Did you see Straight Outta Compton?
No, I did not.
So
I
good.
would really like it.
Did I see it?
So good.
Okay.
And maybe part of it is tied up in the fact that I was a freshman in college when NWA hit. And I remember listening to Eazy-E first, and I would go down to Tim and Ismet's room. This is like how burned it is. Like I never kept touch with these guys, but Tim and Ismet had all the NWA Eazy-E cassettes, so I would dub my cassettes from them and go listening. And I was like, this is amazing. Like nobody's doing.
You didn't just torrent the cassette?
Yeah, you couldn't torrent back then. The internet existed at the University of Illinois, but I had to go down to the computer lab to use it.
You had to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I could use Gopher or Archie.
Okay. Yeah, see, I was late to the party and only actually discovered it Hack Across America the first time. I did 5,000 miles across the U.S. on motorcycle over 6 weeks, and that was like a mainstay. So it means a lot to me now because like certain songs, and I think about like crossing the Gateway Arch into Missouri and things of that nature.
Well, then you're definitely gonna like this movie because to me it was like wow, just telling the story in I mean it's a movie, it's not a documentary, but giving you an idea of like what their lives were like as these things were happening. I don't know. I found it really good.
Nice. Oh man.
Easy.
I need to meet up with Peter Wells in Australia.
When are you going to team up with Peter Wells in Australia?
I just need to. I'm going to be there in May. So.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
You can be his guest.
Say again?
You can be his guest on.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I need to.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you guys are doing guests on the Sunday program.
Yeah, he is.
You have to wake up at.
He's in charge.
Sleepy o'clock, but anyway.
Yeah, he's doing guests.
Oh man, both Rogers. I'm not sure which Roger I like better.
Roger.
So many Rogers. One really has an itch.
I'm itching for some Roger.
Solve all the math.
Roger, what you have to do now is actually here. Am I doing the Roger or am I backwards?
Well, you're complimentary. You're facing.
Yeah, you're bookending Roger.
You got to do the Roger.
Well, now Roger is bookending himself.
Yeah.
It's a match set.
It's just a weird day for Chrome and Hangouts.
I blame caching.
I blame walnuts.
Doesn't Google have enough cache?
Cashews.
No. I was making a joke.
No, Apple has all the cache.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, everybody should, I would say, go see Pyrrhonage, but I guess I just realized as I was saying that it's not out yet. But I still think they have a few more premieres going.
Oh, wait, you can't.
So here's the funny thing is, like, they're having, like, real problems in that this is a web series. If you've never heard of Pyrrhonage, it's a mockumentary about the life of a pro gamer in Canada who's hilarious. And it went on for, I mean, it's been over 10 years, but it started in, like, 2004. And, like, we're talking mega numbers for a podcast, like millions of viewers. They would sell out, like, whenever they would do an episode release, it would be like every couple of months, and they would just like sell out the Bloor Street Theater in Toronto with like a line around the block to get in just to see this episode. And they did, 2 seasons of that. They did a web series, or they took the web series to real television, and then now they just did a Indiegogo movie. But the problem that they're facing is since they were born in an era before social media, they don't have that push connection to their fans, and they have to like hire skywriters over cities or some way to like the word out that like, hey, there's a movie now. Remember that series you liked? It's back. There's a movie.
Skywriters. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like MySpace was the thing when they were, in their heyday. So.
The owner of MySpace just got sold.
Oh no! Wait, Justin Timberlake sold it?
No, it wasn't Timberlake. He's still part of Viant. They got sold to who? Viant was the company that owned them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who was it that bought MySpace?
Well, Apple's got a bunch of cash. They should just buy them.
Now, see, I shouldn't have said anything without knowing what the hell I'm talking about.
That's funny. I was looking
Time
up ASICS getting
Inc.
bought as we were talking about the other thing.
Time Inc. Time Magazine bought MySpace.
What?
Yes. That's why I had to repeat it.
17 different kinds of incongruous.
Why?
So basically, it's not, because what happened is Time, which owns a lot of data properties for advertising in addition to its publications, is buying Viant, which owns a lot of data technology and analysis, and so
Okay.
they're going to combine those things together. But Viant owns MySpace, and
Right.
Time owns magazines, so you also have those two things coming together.
You see, Time isn't a magazine company; they're a technology company.
I mean, they're really a dimension.
But are they based on the new cesium or whatever that cesium was?
How are we going to measure this acquisition?
Well,
Users,
we could measure it in the Kessel Run. That's how we would measure it.
In parsecs.
Yes, in parsecs. I mean, that's how you measure
measure time
Kessel
and
runs.
distance. Brilliant.
12.
It was 12. Actually, it was less than 12, but maybe that was bragging, and maybe we just got the true number.
ASICs didn't get bought. I could have sworn ASICs got bought.
ASIX?
Yeah, ASIX. I use their chips. They're fantastic. They saw their revenues jump 59% in 2006.
After signing a deal
when they signed a deal with Nintendo for the Wii console.
After sales of the Pineapple.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is we diversify. It's in the Nano, but we use a Realtek in the Tetra. So, both of which have awesome FCC IDs, which are in the FCC database, which is really cool.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's just a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
So now we've got to figure out what we're going to do for the official. Now we've soft launched. We've been selling them, but now we've got to figure out how we do the official Pineapple launch. And I'm thinking Big Island. Or
Oh.
there's lots of pineapples there.
Not really.
Not really.
Not really.
Oh, wait. Which one's the Pineapple Island then?
None
It's
of them.
actually called
anymore?
Pineapple Island though, and didn't Jeff Bezos buy it?
If you want to go to a Dole, like a former Dole cannery, they have those on Lahaina, in Maui, and in Honolulu.
Oh, Leani. Lani, is that how you pronounce it?
Lahaina?
It's known as Pineapple Island. Yes. Lanai.
Lanai.
Lanai, sorry,
Yeah.
I can't pronounce anything.
Oh,
it's
well,
Larry.
yeah.
It's Larry Ellison that bought it.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Bezos.
But they don't really grow pineapples on Hawaii anymore.
No, but think of the Oracle farm of servers.
Yeah, no, for many reasons, you should go to Lanai. It's also gorgeous, apparently. I've never been there.
So wait a second. Are you telling me that there's no pineapples in Hawaii?
There
No,
are
they import them.
Well, I know. I sell to them. I'm just asking if they grow there.
They
No,
grow
I don't.
some places.
Yeah, I think they still grow a few, but the big plantations that Dole used to have are gone.
They
Bummer.
don't grow them as a cash crop anymore because
Ah.
it's cheaper to grow them in Southeast Asia and Central America. Pineapples aren't even indigenous to Hawaii. They were brought there.
Well, Americans aren't even indigenous to North America, except for those that were, and they are. So.
Well, technically, I mean, no one really sprung out of the ground. They traveled from somewhere. You go far back
They
enough.
traveled through time, Roger.
Well, they traveled time by traveling through space.
Space and time simultaneously, Roger.
Can't have one without the other.
You can't have one without the other.
Is it?
Yeah, sing it, Ellie.
Tell 'em. You explain space time.
Ellie knows way more about this than any of us.
I really just want to kick off for the rest of the day and watch TNG. Any episode involving time and space.
I've been watching Voyager while I was sick, actually.
Oh, that's a great way to get better.
Yeah.
Get me off of this ship, please.
I love Voyager.
You know, Voyager got. I liked Voyager after the second season, like when the plot started.
One of the best lines about time travel in all of Star Trek comes from Janeway in The Future's End, where
That's
she's
the
like,
last
"Oh,
episode.
I hate time travel. The past becomes the future becomes the past. It just makes my head hurt."
That was the second to last or the last episode?
No, it was like season 3, episode 8.
I like the what? Well, I don't. It's a spoiler, but if you haven't seen it, tough.
Wow. Bold words from Roger.
Yes. If you haven't seen this 15-year-old show,
Years. It's where she goes back in time to save herself and a crew, and she was like, to the hell with the prime directive. I'm getting you guys home. I love that. When reality smacks smacks idealism in the face with a big 5 across the eye.
I'm actually really looking forward to Brian Fuller's Star Trek. I can't wait to hear, because he
So-
has said so many crazy things about what he would like to do that I know when he's actually put to the wall and like, okay, you have to come up with a product that is going to be successful, he's going to come up with something pretty amazing.
I'll
gosh.
tell you what it is.
Wait. You have to backtrack real quick because I've been under a rock. What?
So you did know that CBS is bringing Star Trek back in 2017 as part of CBS All Access. You didn't know that? Okay.
No!
That you should
I'm
know.
under a rock.
So, no, but this has been news for
Like a
almost
year.
a year now.
It's not tech news.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on DTNS.
I missed that episode.
Okay, that's fine. So, yeah, but it's going to be digital streaming. Like, they'll air the first episode on CBS, but the rest of the episodes will be on CBS All Access, so you have to
Yeah,
stream.
To which Matt said, "What? We need another thing to sign up for?"
And then
Yeah,
the news this
Forget
week.
spending $100 a month on cable. Spend $100 a month in aggregate on Hulu, Netflix, CBS, HBO
Okay.
Go.
Okay,
Sorry.
we can have this argument again, but let me get to the other news for Darren,
Yes.
which is that Brian Fuller, the guy who did Hannibal, used to write for Voyager and Deep Space Nine, and is on board to do the American Gods miniseries, is in fact the guy going to run the new Star Trek series.
Where's he going to find the time to do it?
Well, American Gods is just miniseries, so I assume that's why he's able to do it.
I have an idea for the new show, but he won't listen to it, I'm sure. I want to do Star Trek crossover, like Star Trek Privateers, where it's basically pirates. Like you focus pirates within that same universe. And the whole idea, of course, is that because of political reasons and the political costs involved, they have to do these things kind of outside of legal and ethical, normal channels, and they just basically go through and, have a swashbuckling adventure through
Sounds
space.
just like Captain Kirk.
Yes, but more
Right.
more swash and less buckle. Like none of the really kind of ossified niceties that everyone was. This is the thing that bugged me about Voyager and the neutral part for the longest time was like Janeway's insistence on following the Prime Directive. Sorry, following the Prime Directive, and it's like, yeah, I get it, but like you guys are stranded out in some, boony section of the galaxy.
Right, you're in international waters, as it were.
If we don't keep our principles here, Roger, then what were our principles really?
Well, at the end of the series, she kind of does that anyway. So you know what? In the end, reality what a real politique triumphs over.
Or when the Ferengi have the replicator and are acting like gods, they find a little loophole that they can crawl through to interfere in that planet's.
The Ferengi
natural
don't have the
development.
Prime Directive.
Exactly.
they
That
have
was
the
the
lost
point
back
that
position.
Tuvok made, was if Ferengi, who don't have the Prime Directive, are interfering in this planet's natural development, it's outside of the Federation's control, and therefore we should leave it alone.
I just say the Federation has no legal jurisdiction out that far, so tough.
It's not about... So you're saying you only follow rules if you're made to.
Yeah. 80% of people who follow the rules would probably say that.
Well, yeah. When I go to Europe, I only follow American rules, obviously.
I know. That's why you keep ending up in prison.
Yeah, you know what? It's fun to do.
You have mugshots in 12 different countries.
Well,
All
see,
right.
this is why the Prime Directive of banning encryption is just not going to work, because people will just use it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Then time travel.
Makes my head hurt. There's coffee in that nebula. Another great Janeway quote. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.